Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Coach Gerald Lami podcast. I will be bringing you content with some of the best sport personalities around the world and sharing the journey with the listeners and inspiring the next generation. Without further ado, I would like to introduce my special guest for today, Gerard Lyttle. Welcome, Gerard. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
And thank you for having me, Gerard. It's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. So I just want to rewind the clocks a little bit. How was your childhood growing up in Belfast?
Yeah, growing up in Belfast was back then in the 80s was very, very challenging, Gerard, in terms of, it was in the midst of the troubles. But, we get through it. My memories and thinking back, it was always football. It was just constant football, and it's all you knew and all you sort of really had back then. It was just 24/7. You had a ball at your feet, going to school, in school, coming from school. And I grew up the oldest boy. I had two young sisters. My mother sort of reared us up until, my dad was in jail for 7 to 8 years. So he missed probably mostly all my childhood of being a young footballer before I went across the water to Celtic. So again, you had to grow up fast. And you had to try and become a man, fairly quick as well, being the oldest boy and having two younger sisters, So, but very proud of my roots and very proud of my mother, God rest her, in terms of the job she'd done and around, 3 kids and who went on and done quite well for themselves in life,
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, just to give the listeners a brief introduction. So we briefly met at my time at Arsenal when I came to visit Belfast, and I just remember seeing the culture and the passion that the locals had towards football, and also very welcoming. Like in terms of yourself, we didn't really spend a lot of time, but for that short period of time, I mean, look, a couple of years down the line now, we're still speaking, and I can just sense, just the proudness of what you just mentioned in terms of the heritage and the environment where everyone grew up there. And to be honest with you, I enjoyed my short space of time when I did visit. I thoroughly loved the people in Belfast, and I would highly recommend for anyone just to go and visit and see how life is in Belfast, which was it was interesting to see.
Yeah.
But going into your football, how did football become part of your life? What was the journey?
Well, like I say, football was life. Back then you didn't really have an awful lot. Growing up, so what you did have was a football, and it was just a natural thing to have was growing up with a football at your feet, and you were doing things without you were coaching yourself basically, without realizing and without knowing. So, in terms of that, it was very difficult, to get a chance or an opportunity to get across to England or Scotland. My first opportunity or sniff of becoming a professional footballer and getting an opportunity was at Coventry. The late Derek Dugan, who was a Wolves legend and a Northern Ireland legend here, it was just through fluke, he was speaking to a friend of my family. They'd said about myself being a footballer and playing for Santos as a young kid, and I should go up and watch him, and he did. He came up and watched one of the games, but the game that he actually watched, we got hammered 8-0 or something. and I knew, I was well aware that he was watching, and I'm going, freaking hell, I'm never going to get a chance now. But in that game, I actually, believe it or not, I played really well, and he set up a trial. We went to Wolves, and then I went to with another boy. Who was from our team as well in our school, and we both went to Wolves and went to Coventry. Nothing really materialised. Off the second trial, Celtic got in contact. I was playing a school tournament, and they had watched me and they liked what the scene, and they invited me over to trial with them. I was there about 4 times throughout the sort of holidays and so on, and listen, when Celtic came, I was always a big Celtic fan. I grew up supporting Celtic. Watched them, travelled across, the cup finals and so on. And that was just, to be able just to go and trial at Celtic and be part of that and see, players like Paul McStay and Peter Grant at that time, and just real Celtic legends, Pocky Bromere, and it was unreal. And lucky enough, I done well, and throughout the 3 or 4 trials, they offered me a scholarship to go across when I was 16. So it was basically it was a dream come true. Playing for your boyhood dream, boyhood team growing up was phenomenal and unbelievable. So really proud that that happened, and as I say, that all the hard work was put in. Just constantly training, constantly playing, and being really, fascinated with football. Sort of paid off in the end.
Wow. So how was the transition? Because you said you was offered the scholarship at 16, leaving home. How did you adapt to that situation?
Well, Gerald, it was quite difficult. I remember back then, and it's just we talk about it to our young academy lads. We'll talk about that even further on. What we've set up here, but basically, it is really to get our kids in Northern Ireland to adapt quickly when they do go across. So, but back when I was, you're talking in the sort of 1995, 96, I think, when I went to Celtic as a 16-year-old. I was in Scotland for, I think it was about 7 to 8 months before I got home to visit my parents. We didn't have any mobile phones then. We didn't have social media. We didn't have any sort of connection.
Lucky these days.
Oh, it's frightening what the kids have these days. But we had to walk to. If we wanted to make contact with my parents, we had to walk to the phone box and with a pocket load of 20p's.
I remember those times.
Oh, so it was like, I've got so many 20p's here. This will last me 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So
Yeah.
the odd time you sort of try to revert the calls, and your mum would have cracked up because the bill would have went over, So, but yeah, that was the memories then. As I say, I ended up I was a Celtic for a total of 5 years, from 16 right through, and until I was in my, I think it was 19 or 20. I think I left and went to Peterborough United, but. The memories are the best ever. Just looking back, the friends you've made. I mean, out of that, I end up becoming best friends with Paul Dalglish. Paul's and I, we keep in good contact. He was the best man at my wedding. He was my son's godfather, first son's godfather. And Paul's went on to make a great career. Obviously, he played for Celtic. He went down to England. He played for Norwich and Newcastle and Liverpool, and in Scotland he played for Hibs and so on. And then he went to Dynamo Houston and had a good decent stint there. And he's now, last year he was manager of Miami FC, and he's now the general manager. So, them memories, and then it's say football has that. You meet friends all over, and you continue to have them friends from all roads. And as I said, and I was very lucky and very fortunate to be in a situation where I was able to do that.
No, for sure. The power of networking, especially through sports and through football, goes to show in terms of, look at the people that you've connected with, and even ourselves that we're still connecting. But so you made the transition from playing to coaching. Was coaching always in your mind, or you kind of fell into it?
No. Do you know what? It always was. I don't know why, but I remember as far back at Celtic when we were doing our youth, our YTP, you called it then. And I remember, there was guys coming in to take us on our B license back then, as part of our education, and the boys didn't like it, but for some strange reason, I really enjoyed it. And I remember even back then when I was only 17, I think, saying, you know what, I like this. This is probably something that I would do, after playing. And so I think I ended up doing my B license 3 times. I done it then at Celtic, and it was no problem. I left it, played, didn't coach. I came back at an early age in Northern Ireland, played obviously Irish League football. I'd done it again and passed it and left it again. Didn't sort of coach, was still playing. And then it sort of lapsed, so I had to go back and do it again and completed it. And that was the sort of the start. So from that, I ended up doing my B license, completed that, and went straight into my A license, completed that. And that was me sort of on the ladder, and that was me thinking, I stopped playing football through injury in the Irish League in around sort of late 20s, which was early enough. And, I decided to go and try and learn the trade, basically, at amateur league football. And I just thought, I was thinking about, if I can manage an amateur league, it's challenging. I was confident in my own ability in terms of coaching, but I wanted to challenge myself in my management. And I done that for a year, done quite well. And Cliftonville, Tommy Breslin, God rest him, the Cliftonville manager at the time, approached me and asked me would I be interested in coming on board as a first team coach with Cliftonville. And it was a no-brainer, and again, it was never for money or anything like that. It was for me in terms of my vision, where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. And it was learning. It was the next step in the ladder. And I spent a couple of seasons as a first team coach at Cliftonville, and Tommy just gave me the full reels. He just, go ahead, you in charge of the training pitch, you take all the sessions, I won't interfere, I'll help pick a team, you can help me pick a team, but I want you to take full control. And that was an education for me in terms of coaching then. So from man management, I was now coaching at a very good level at an early age, and doing quite well. Within the 2 years we had so much success. We ended up our first season, we won the first cup, and then we done back-to-back, won the league and league cup, back-to-back doubles, for the next couple of seasons with Cliftonville. So, it was coming to that stage where, I had to start thinking, now, where do I go? Do I continue being a coach, or do I start thinking about being a manager, which I always wanted to be? And at that stage, with all the success, there's expectation from Cliftonville. There was expectation for us to win every game and do well. We started losing top players, and we started losing games, and sort of Tommy stepped down, and I was next in line to take over from him as Cliftonville manager. And I would say it was absolutely fantastic. It was easy enough. So from playing to getting into coaching, I think I'd done it the right way. I didn't just jump from playing and straight into management. I wanted to learn the ropes. I wanted to learn how to coach and how to adapt and how to be challenged, and then obviously go on and manage and do it all, and bring it all together. And basically that's what I've done.
No, interesting. So we all know that football has changed throughout the years. Would you say you brought much of your playing career experiences into your coaching or managing?
Yeah, I did. I was fortunate enough to work with some really good coaches and managers in my time playing, and some bad ones, but you learn from both.
Yeah, of course.
That's why you adapt, and you think, well, I think I could do it that way. I think I could. I don't like to do it that way. I didn't like that how he challenged me, or how he talked, how he spoke to me, how he, So there was different things that I took from basically a lot of managers. Right back to my first manager at Celtic was Willie McStay, and his man management was absolutely fantastic. He wanted to play for him. His coaching was decent as well, but he wanted to play for him. He sort of gave you that love and respect, and he knew when to have a laugh at you, and he knew when to be serious. And I thought, what, that's probably how I would like to go about being a manager, and taking some from him. There was other guys like Chris Nicholl, who was my Northern Ireland under-21 manager. He was the strangest guy you could ever meet in your life, hard as nails, but had a way about him where he'd get it out of you. And I think all managers have to have that little bit of oddness or strangeness about them, where it keeps the players thinking, what's he doing? What's he thinking? What's he up to? He does some mad things, but it's a kind of game, isn't it? You're playing with the players. So there was lots of things I took from growing up, and say even right back to my early days a youth player, before I went to Celtic. I had a really good education with a guy called Eugene McGeegan, who was a Santos youth Santos manager at a boy club, and he was he was coaching when nobody else was coaching, basically. So it's going right back to my roots, and that's where I think I've learned and took a lot from.
So, in your opinion, what do you think are the most important attributes to be an effective coach?
I think there's many things. I think you have to be obviously confident. First and foremost, you've got to be confident in your own ability and be confident to deliver. The sessions that you're delivering at whatever level you're delivering to. Whether it's kids from under 6 to obviously elite players, who are playing on top of their game. So the players got to feel your confidence, without being arrogant or any, overstepping the mark. You got to have a real confidence in your own ability. You got to be able to talk to your players. You got to be challenged. If they challenge you, you got to have that confidence to be able to come back. And not saying you always have the answers, but if they are challenging you, got to know what you're talking about. I think it's also important that you have to have a real energy, enthusiasm about you. Your body language has to be good, because that rubs off. And I believe in your sessions or your team talks or even your teams and how to play. Obviously, preparation is very important. Being prepared for whatever it is, whether it's coaching, whether it's setting up your team, whether the team, the opposition you're playing against on a Saturday or whatever. And always listening and always learning, listening to your players, because I think there's managers that think they know all and they think they have all the answers, and really they don't. You got to listen. And, I've been, again, lucky enough, I was manager at Cliftonville and had a success my first season winning cups, and I was, went on to Sligo Rovers and, at full-time level and manage and there's players there's senior players have really good knowledge of the league that you're in or even playing the game, and you take little bits and pieces from them. So again, listening as well, and the biggest thing is potentially decision making. Making the decisions at the right time, on the spot, whether it's during games, whether it's during the week leading up to games, whether you're maybe leaving a player out or bringing a player in or bringing a young player up or anything like that. So I think they're all the key attributes for me anyway that I always tried to follow and from managing and coaching.
It'll be interesting to hear your view in terms of, like you mentioned earlier on, in terms of managing players. There's certain players that you might have to put your arm around them, or you might have to shout at them. Have you found that balance within your managing your team at the moment?
Yeah, I think that's probably one of my strengths. Is, as I said, is learning from managers like William McStay is man management. And I think it's a massive part of the game. Is especially when you're managing, at a level, I suppose any level, but more at elite level. Because you're managing different personalities and different egos, and as you just said, there's some players there that that need a real growling and need a shout and they need to kick up a backside. And there is players there that don't respond to that and need the arm around them and need to be told how good they are and so on. So, and again, it's getting that balance right as well. And then again, bringing it together, that's side stuff, that's stuff you do one-to-ones, that's stuff you do maybe on the training pitch where you're pulling players to the side. But when it comes to the Saturday, then the whole team, have to see the right balance in terms of what you're delivering to them, in terms of, that nice side of you or that, that motivational side to you or that leadership side to you. And it's again, it's like a game management, it really is. It's just playing the games and knowing probably what to say at the right time is key as well, at the right games and, the right training session to bring out the best in your players.
Interesting. So I just want to touch on basically the young players in Northern Ireland. I remember when I did visit, I remember seeing there was a lot of talent there. Do you feel the players are getting the right coaching at the moment for their long term development?
Yeah, Gerald, I do. I think now, we've got our act together in terms of, the clubs and the Irish League clubs, they all because of their license, they have to have a proper academy director sort of put in
Mm-hmm.
place. And I think all of them obviously do. Otherwise, you get your license revoked and took off, or you get fined and you don't get into Europe. So first and foremost, that's good. And we've got the leagues, playing at the right levels. An under 20 league, right down to youth leagues, right down to the under 10s and small sided games. In terms of the international setup, I've just sort of this year come on board with Jim Magilton, who's the technical director, elite performance technical director, and him and I work hand in hand. We work very close together, and the job that he's done at this level, setting up, has been unbelievable. We've now just secured a 4-year 4-year relationship basically with UEFA in terms of setting up an elite international academy, residential academy. So it's the first time ever in this country that it's happened.
Mm-hmm.
3 countries every 4 years have to present and put a plan together and say Jim done that, and we were rewarded with this. So at the minute we have 20 lads, and we'll have another 20 come September. God spares us, of potentially the best players in the country at international level. We take them every day. They go to school. They come back. We have them on the pitch every day for 2.5 hours. They do their strength and conditioning, do their pitch work. They eat with us. They do their homework with us, and they do this from Sunday right through to Thursday. They go home on a Friday after school. Spend the Friday night and the Saturday night with their parents, their families, and then they're back with us on Sunday. And again, there's no one else in the country doing this. And really what this is from 14, basically the 14 years of age to 16. And the idea is giving our lads, a couple of things. Is one, preparing them for life in England, like I said, because we have a large percentage of our boys are going across, but they're coming back within a year or two. We want to keep them there. We want them, and the reason why they're coming back is because they're not ready. Basic things like I just said at the start of the podcast was, learning how to cook, learning how to be on their own, teaching them how to do things, how to stand up for themselves, how to talk, how to present, how to, all the different little things that, that throw you off when you are across, and obviously taking them out of their comfort zone from their family day-to-day life, mums and dads picking up after them, doing things for them. We're preparing them for all that. So we're looking to see if we can get them out there basically and keep them out there. And then obviously off the back of that, how many can we get into the senior setup in terms of playing senior football? And that's our target and our goal. So to answer your question, yeah, I think we're in a very good place at the minute, Northern Ireland, in terms of developing young players, and there really is some top kids here that are going. I mean, we predict here off the back of our programme this year, we'll probably have about 15 players going across and being offered contracts, full-time contracts with English and Scottish clubs.
No, that's amazing. In terms of, you said that they're not ready, is it more so off the pitch that you mentioned, or also technically that?
Well, there's a bit of both. Off the pitch, obviously, we try and tell our boys, just be obsessed with football. You gotta, if you want to make it to the top, you gotta be obsessed. You gotta be thinking 24/7. What does it take to be a footballer? And it's a ball to your feet. It's practicing. It's working technically on your weaknesses. Constantly, any free time you have, get out and practice. And even watching the best. We tell our boys to watch a player who plays in your position. Who's a top end of his game, and learn. Watch him and learn from him and see how you can implement what he's doing at them levels. We work a lot on the technical side of the game, passing, receiving, scanning, the basics of the games that we all take for granted. But, from these early ages, the boys, they're not at that level just yet. So it's
Mm-hmm.
constantly ramming down their throat, all the things that's
Mm-hmm.
going to help them become the best that they possibly can. But listen, we can give them all the tools. It's up to the boys to use them and buy into it. And as I say, technically they got to be ready. We find now they are, they're going across technically ready. They're going across physically ready. Where
Mm-hmm.
before Gerald, that physically was one of the big things where our boys fell down. We always produced little
Mm-hmm.
small players from Northern Ireland, but now we've got players on programs. We've got them on the right programs. We've got them on the right track. And as I say, long may that continue. And you got to applaud all the work that's been put in on our end in terms of the IFA and in terms of local clubs, local coaches. It's been brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that's changed because now you guys have implemented a methodology, whereas before maybe there wasn't a sort of structure to the players? Would you say that made a
Yeah,
difference?
Yeah, I think now you're finding more young coaches, want to go and coach and want to go and learn. And, you see the trends of Mourinho, of Pep, of all the young coaches, out there and what they're doing and how to play the sexy football of Barcelona, and players and coaches are buying into all that. And obviously you've got now all the, as you said, a methodology of how to set up in terms of training your kids at that level. I think sometimes basically, it can be, depending on the age, it can be a wee bit overtuned. I think you just got to, at an early age, you got to let players just play. Just let them play,
Mm-hmm. I
let them
agree. Yeah.
learn, and let them find their way. And then come an age where they're getting to that elite sort of international level and so on, then you fine tune them,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully by the end you would have got all the traits of being technically good. But you never stop working on that anyway. You just constantly work on it. And as I say, that the tactical side of things, for us, basically at the international level, that's the easy part. It's setting your
Mm-hmm.
team up and playing against bigger nations, depending who you're playing against. But the technical is rammed down their throat big time. Every single day we have them, it's just technical, technical, technical. And we
Mm-hmm.
want them just to be so comfortable, with that ball at their feet that it's second nature to them.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. So, what's the process to get into the academy for
Well,
the young
we
players?
yeah, so we have a setup called Club NI. Basically, what it is, it's
Mm-hmm.
it's international football. So we have a games program. So from at the minute we're as low down as 2007, year 2007, 2006, 2004, 13 up.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have all the national teams, the club NI teams meet every Sunday with their coaches, and they do a double session. They train in the morning, train in the afternoon. So they're with us throughout the duration of the next couple of years. They can be let go, they can be brought in, there can be new players brought in. We have a scouting system where we go and watch them at their club level. They play with their clubs every weekend. Um, and then when we get together in terms of international tournaments or things like that, then there's a selection process. So if they're in that sort of setup, and at the time it comes to the academy, then we again go through a process this year, this September new term. We have another 20 players that we're looking to potentially pick. So we've set up our
Mm-hmm.
trials, we've set up little interviews. We'll go through it. There'll be a couple of things that we'll look at, and we'll profile the players, and from that then hopefully we get the right selection. We might not, and then we work with them for the next 2 years, and we have them every day for the next 2 years basically, until they go across to England or Scotland or wherever it may be.
Sounds like a good program. I think you could see it. A lot of nations are doing quite the similar things as well, especially around these sides. Qatar,
Yeah,
they basically had the same group that trained together for the past 5 years,
yeah.
and they ended up winning the Asia Cup. So I think it's important for the players just to stick together for a long time. We've seen it with Spain, we've seen it with Germany. You've even seen it now with England. The majority of the boys that are coming through have come with Gareth Southgate, and you
Yeah.
could see the end result is actually working. So I'm
Well,
pretty sure it's going to do the same for you guys.
it is, and again, it's the key is having them, having them all the time as much as possible, and setting the standards with them, and making sure that everything that we're doing is the right thing. We're I think in the last 4 or 5 years, I think we've lost one game in the Victory Shield.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so or 5 years ago, potentially we always struggled in it. So it shows you that there's definitely progress there. We've now got this stage where we've got a lot of players going across the water, and we've a lot of scouts now contacting us about our homegrown players, which is great as well. So again, the more we do that, the more we can develop them and get them over and keep them there. It's gonna be brilliant for our senior squad. A couple of years down the line.
No, for sure, I agree with you. So, in terms of your coaching or managing, what would you say is the most difficult part of it, or what have you come across that was difficult along your journey?
I think the most difficult, the most disappointing time was probably my ending at Sligo Rovers. I left a great job at Cliftonville. I was probably a player or two off challenging for the league again. We were in a really good place. We were playing a lovely brand of football, and we were potentially missing a goal scorer who I'd signed, Joe Gormley, but couldn't play until the end of the season. So Sligo Rovers came in for me. I and basically told me that the club needed stability. They wanted to develop their own young players. It's going to be a process, 4 years, sort of down the line. This is what we're looking at. And I want, that's something that really interests me. And I think I could see myself there. It's full-time football. And I want, I'll have a go at that. So I signed, first of all, an 18-month contract. The short-term target was they were bottom of the league, basically. In this particular season, the first season, there was 3 teams going down, being relegated, and obviously we weren't in a great place. They'd sold their top goal scorer, so it was a big challenge. And lucky enough, last game of the season we ended up staying up by three points. So second year, you're thinking, yep, okay, now we'll start looking at building the club again. We'll start looking at developing young players. And in that first season, I give 10 debuts to under 18 players. And even to this day, there's 4, I think, regulars now. So we didn't have a great budget. I was developing young players. Stability was starting to look good. We were still around the sort of bottom end of the table, but we were doing well. We were playing a nice brand of football. Young players were making their debuts. They were playing. They were doing well. And we thought, we've capped them up. We capped them up with 3 games to go. And I agreed a new deal, verbally agreed a new deal with the board. And within a couple of days, they turned their back and went a different way, and basically said, "Oh, we're going a different direction." So they let my contract run out, and they were dishonest in terms of shaking on a deal, and going with someone who I thought was more experienced within the league. Which was disappointing, because the hard work I moved my family down there, I put a lot of time down there. I see myself being at Sligo for the next lot of years, and developing as a manager, and developing a club, and really taking them to the levels where that we thought that they could go to. And to get that taken away from you, it took me a wee while to get over it. It was very, very hurtful, but at the same time, I learned from it. I learned that that's the game. That's part and parcel of it. It's going to happen, and it's how you come back from it. And as I say, that was probably the most disappointing and the most hurting time of being a manager or a coach, or whatever you want to call it, because of where you seen yourself, the effort you put in, the hard work that you put in, and the vision you had for the club, and you weren't able to follow it through.
Thank you for sharing that, because I think it's good for the listeners to understand as well, especially for people that do, or coaches that want to get into that next level, that it is a results-based business. And also, not to say that you was doing in terms of results because you kept them up, but it's business at the end of the day, and these things do happen. But no, so thank you for sharing that. But you're doing the Northern Ireland under 16s now. Is Is that the sort of level that you wanna stick at? Do you enjoy it, or do you wanna push on and go back into first team?
Do you know what? I always see myself staying at first team level because I got a taste
Mm-hmm.
for it. I got a taste for, it was again, I done well first season at Clifton. We won a cup, and we qualified for Europe twice, and the manage your club in Europe, was a big thing for me and exciting to be playing against the best clubs in Europe. And I loved that, and I got a real buzz from it. But after Sligo, a good friend of mine, obviously Jim Magilton, who I spoke about earlier, he had invited me up to take a couple of training sessions with the young lads, and I went up and took a session here and there, and really enjoyed it. And sort of from that, we developed, throughout the year, a good relationship, a good working relationship, and obviously an opportunity to come up with the academy, and I've just signed a contract for the next 3 years to be the head coach of that, and obviously head coach of the under 16s. At the minute, Gerald, if I'm really enjoying it. I'm learning an awful lot every single day, and you wouldn't believe, you can't stop learning. And since I've got on board with this, I've been taken honestly right out of my comfort zone at times in terms of learning and developing and delivering. I'm enjoying it. If I'm being honest, would I like to get back in at senior level? Definitely, yes, 100%. But at the right time. And again, for any coaches out there, I think this is crucial. I think timing is key to any success. It's going to the right club at the right time, or being a coach at the right time is so important. And at the minute, timing's perfect for me. I had a bad taste at Sligo in the end. I've got over it, and now coaching at the highest level in terms of international at youth, and I'm happy. I've got a bit of stability in my life. It's a top job. I'm able to live at home with my family. I go do a lot of trips. We last year we were in Spain twice. We were in Poland. We were in Estonia. We were in so many beautiful countries. Wow. We were in Finland. So we're playing against the top nations. So why would I want to change that just now? To say, I think for me for the next couple of years, that's where I see, unless a top job comes in. Yeah. For me, and the timing's right. But at the minute, I'm quite happy and content where I am.
No, amazing. So just to wrap it up, what if anyone that is getting into coaching or anything like that, what should they expect along their journey? I know everyone's journey is different, but what sort of things should they expect?
You broke up there, Gerard. What was that question? Sorry.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, I was just saying that for any coaches that are getting into the game now, what sort of things should they expect? I know everyone's journey is different, but there's a lot of fundamentals in the coaching game that we all kind of go through similar things. Is there anything in particular that you would advise for anyone just to keep an eye out?
Yeah, expect a roller coaster, and
for sure.
that's what it is. It's you get so many highs and you'll get so many lows, and you'll question yourself so many times of being a coach, a good coach, a bad coach, and that's the game. But for me is never stop learning and just basically have that confidence in yourself of being who you are, and be prepared, be prepared for everything, be prepared for the setbacks, and you're going to get setbacks along the way. It's like being a footballer, no different being a footballer to being a manager. There's setbacks there, say my first big real setback was Sligo Rovers, and I had to learn how to deal with it. It took me time as a young manager, and I really believed in myself and believed in what I was able to do, and I never got that real opportunity of doing it. So that was frustrating to do it. So as I say, believe in yourself, be prepared for setbacks. Don't let them drag you down too much. Just get on with it and enjoy the journey along the way.
No, powerful. Listen, Gerard, thank you very much, mate. I appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing your journey, and I wish you the best of luck with everything that you're doing.
Really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Enjoy that.